Wow, it is such a beautiful day. So I couldn't spend it indoors going over seed packets and seed deliveries when it's just so gorgeous. I have to be outside. So really fast before there's a native plant sale, I'm going to head over to the library because I heard that they have a seed library and I just kind of want to check it out and see how it works and then head over to the native plant sale. So let's get to it and come along with me. If you haven't figured out when your county has native plant sales, you should just Google it. You'll probably find more than one native plant sale. The one I'm going to today, they basically do it annually. So if you didn't go today, then you basically missed it. They do pre-orders, and then I did not do a pre-order because I just learned about the date today, which I'm not quite sure how, since I'm on social media and I look at local events. So it's kind of a surprise to me that it's today, but I'm going to be checking out what they have left over because a lot of really good things that are really interesting do get pre-ordered and sold out, but we'll see what they have left. Join me. Let's check it out. I love the idea of planting native plants. I am not married to the idea that you can only plant native plants. I do think it's important to be careful with plants that can be pervasive or invasive, to not like overpower native plants and like kind of like smother them out and things like that. But I do grow ornamentals. I do grow things that have been cultivated in other countries, Europe, China, India, everywhere around the world. But around the perimeter of my property, I like to grow more native plants than anything else. I kind of think of it as a buffer, my little world where I can do whatever I want. And then I think having a perimeter around the properties that we have using native plants is a great idea. One, it kind of is a buffer in case you have things that are somewhat weedy or whatever for between you and your neighbors. And it also provides a habitat for native birds, native wildlife. So, and it provides them with food. I also put out bird feeders, and I don't care if the squirrels eat. But it's best if they keep their wild habits of eating native things so they don't become domesticated, right? And rely upon us. And then you go on vacation, you don't feed them, and what happens? It's like a pet. So you want to make sure that they are still foraging and keeping those instincts and that wild nature about them. So first, let's go to the library, check out the seed library, which is the first time my library has ever done this. And I haven't been to a wild plant sale in several years, so it'll be fun to see what they have this time. Let's go. I decided to come to the plant sale first because it starts at 10 and I only have like 10 minutes before 10. And it's a good thing I did because I'm in actually the overflow parking. I hope there's some plants left, like literally overflow. It's crazy. There's so many people here. They must have done good advertising. I just didn't see it till today. So I filled out the application for certified wildlife habitat for Washington and got this little placard to put up on the property. I already have something similar that I had to apply for like a decade ago, where you certify that you have habitat for birds and other wildlife, that you have food sources like native plants, somewhere for the animals to nest, hibernate or burrow. And you have pollinator friendly plants, things for the larvae to eat, and so forth. So that's pretty cool. And they didn't charge me for this, so that's kind of nice. Taking off my glasses because they're so dark. But that was really cool. It was nice this morning. It was kind of warm and sunny, and then it got super cold and windy. Luckily, it didn't rain this time. There was one time I was standing in the rain. The lines were outside that time. This time, the lines were inside in one of the different fairground buildings, and they had like the line going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think there was like 1,000 people there. It took about an hour and a half to get through the line, and then another 15, 30 minutes for my order to be ready. So I was about halfway through, an hour into it, but then they started to run out of some of the different varieties, like the different kinds of strawberries. The native strawberries were gone, and a lot of other things were also gone. So I ended up changing my order around and ordering a few more extra things. Like I ordered twinberry, which is not listed as being any edible or medicinal or anything like that on their paperwork. But I do have twins in my family. So I like to plant things in honor of family members. So I'll be planting a set of those in honor of my uncle, my oldest uncle, and his twin sister who passed away, along with my Rose of Sharon that I have growing in her honor. And then I'll have 2 of them planted in honor of my little niece and nephew, both of them are obviously it's a boy and a girl. So they're fraternal twins. So I got the twinberry in honor of them, and then also to feed the wildlife and give them a more natural habitat, living in an urban setting. I had a lot of fun going through the list. I kept like looking back at, they have like a list that's like says what, what's edible or what's, whatever. They don't have a lot of detail. I know there are some things that are medicinal or edible that they didn't list, probably because there's side effects and liability and stuff. So, I really went for the things that they clearly marked as having edible things associated with them. Just because I want to have things that I can use, as well as whatever's abundant and extra to feed the wildlife. But I don't want to fill up all of the property with things that are only for wildlife. Because I do think we're going to be facing some food insecurity if we're not already facing it. So, yeah. So I did buy a bunch of different things. I did buy a few things that are ornamental, like the twinberries and one rhododendron, and so forth. The rhodies are the Washington State plant. So you gotta have rhodies if you live in Washington. So, that's kind of like a rule, I think. Anyways, so I will show you what I got. It doesn't look pretty because it's just like a trash bag full of plants, but I do need to do the work of taking them out of the bag and getting them planted. The red osier dogwood, which I think is called red twig dogwood, is just basically, you just plant it in the ground. It doesn't even have roots in it yet. So if it dries out at all, it's going to be a goner. So that's going to be one of the first things I plant. I could add some rooting hormone, but the lady said that they root really readily and they don't need that. And I did buy an edible Oregon grape. It's called like tall Oregon grape. And there were 2 different varieties listed. One was listed as edible and the other one wasn't. So, and it does say that it's for things like jellies where you actually heat it first. It's not like edible right off the plant. So be careful. I know a lot of people, especially children, think anything that has fruit, it's edible. It's not. In my gardening classes in the past, I've had kids, teenagers, 13 years old, say, "Oh, it says it has a bright red fruit." And I'm like, "Okay, well, is it edible?" And they're like, "Yeah, it says fruit." I'm like, no, fruit just means that's how it reproduces. So the seeds are encased in like a fleshy substance. You have flowers, you have the seeds forming with fruit around it. It does not mean it's edible. I mean, I think most parents do a good job of letting their kids know berries, like there's poisonous berries, but when they read fruit, they think automatically that it's edible. Like there are a lot of fruits that are not edible. So whenever you're looking through things, make sure you do a lot of research and that you know, like sometimes they're even edible, but they have to be processed first, heated for a certain amount of time or whatever. Or the fruit is edible, but the seeds and the skin aren't or something. So you really need to know what you're doing. Just because something's native too doesn't mean that it's edible. It's always good to have things that are native for wildlife, but it doesn't mean that you can eat it. So just be very careful. And also make sure that you have plant markers so you know what you've grown where. I will be honest, when I first started gardening in excess, I didn't have a really good marking method. So I have lost track and now I have to go back and try to identify some of them. But before I clear the property that I basically inherited, I'm going to make sure I identify the plants first. And because I do want to clear some areas that I can actually access the property because it's really wild and overgrown. But I want to make sure that I do it thoughtfully because like I just went and spent $100 on native plants. And then I'm like, am I going to be clearing out valuable plants to make space to have a trail or a picnic table space or have a little area that we can day camp or something? So be careful, know what your plants are that you're growing. I know we all usually start with things that are domesticated, but it is good to have, and I really think having a perimeter of native plants is really smart. I think it's a really way to be a steward of the land that we're inhabiting because it will help to keep at least that borderline of like the native birds and other wildlife. It'll give them food and shelter that's for them. And my intuition says that will be helpful to keep them out of your garden. If their bellies are full already from what they want to eat, then being close to humans, which is kind of scary, will be less attractive to them, or they'll be less desperate, basically. So I think having some native plants is going to be really good for your garden. And you can also use the understory. Having a tree, having a guild, and having a food forest is just a really beautiful way to balance us with everything else and to make it easy. It's kind of lazy gardening because if you plant a food forest, it takes care of itself. Okay, what I'm going to eventually do is I am going to be doing a double cup method where I use a clear cup and I'm going to melt holes in the bottom, and then I'm going to put it inside of one of these green cups. I was so happy to find the green solo cups. The cups are running now about 10 to 15, maybe even 20 cents each. So I will not be labeling the outside of the cups like I normally do because I want to reuse them over and over again and have them still look nice. So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with cutting up one to make multiple labels. And then I'm not going to be planting in this today, but I just want to show you I'm going to be doing a double cup method. And I've been seeing people doing it the opposite way. I've been seeing people all over YouTube doing it on these and then putting it inside of a clear cup. Okay? And I don't understand why, because if I'm planting something, I want to see the roots. And if I put it like this, now the roots are shaded and sheltered and not getting light on them like they don't like it. And I can have water on the inside. Also, the clear cups are usually smaller than the solo cups. And these are both off-brand. But I do like the green. I think it goes with the garden pretty well. You can also do other colors and like color coordinate and say like, okay, well, all of my peppers are in purple and all of my tomatoes are in red and all of my brassicas are in green, or not, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to go ahead, because I went to that gardening, to that native plant sale. I need labels and I don't have any ready. So I'm just going to use scissors. This cup here, I'm going to save this thing for later. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this up into pieces. So I usually use, for this, I usually use reuse cups for this. But all of my reused cups are damp, which means they're hard to write on, or they're really dirty and gritty. So I'm like, if I rinse them off, I could do that a different day, but I really need the labels today. So this cup cost me about 15 cents. So I'm getting all of these labels for 15 cents. And they'll last good enough. And the ones that are like textured like this actually kind of gives you a guide of where to cut. I've done this many times. And I usually use the first year I use it for first two or 3 years I use it for growing stuff in, and then the third year I cut them up for labels. But I need the surface to be dry. Okay, so now what I do is I'm going to cut them at a point. That just makes it easy to slide down into the pot, and it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. And I want the white part to stay dry. And the table is a little bit damp because it was covered in leaves, and I just wiped it off. I didn't clean it, I just wiped it off because I don't have time today. I went to a native plant swap, and I went to the library and went on some errands with my daughter. And now we're going to make some plant labels. Super cheap. How many am I making here? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm making 15 out of this one. You could probably make more, because I did make them kind of wide because I want to write enough information on there. So I got 15. So basically each label is costing me a penny. Right? It's a good deal. And I have to have these labeled before I forget, because I have a lot of plants. And I know that my family is going to be mowing the lawn, and they're going to be moving things around. And a plain stick in a pot without any leaves looks like another plain stick in a pot without any leaves. So these have to have the labels. And so far, this has been the most effective way for me. I have seen people use like blinds, which I think is a great way to reuse things that are destined for a landfill. And then even this I will bring to my science classroom because they use junk for modeling toolkits, and they'll probably turn this into like a chlorophyll or chloroplast or something. So that will be saved for later. And then I'm going to write on here the varieties that I have to plant. According to my inventory list, my receipt here, I need to make up 4 plant labels for twin berries. They were only $2.25 a plant. Now, as far as I know, the only reason why I got the twin berries is because the fraternal twins were in my family, and I like to plant things in honor of family members. So I always look for variety names that are in their honor. But the twin berries are going to be for my aunt and uncle who were fraternal twins. My aunt passed away years ago, and then also I'll plant some in honor of my niece and nephew. So that will be really nice. So twin berries, I need 4 of them, right? And twin berry are native. Don't do it that way. Okay, so twin berry. Try to be a little bit more stable than I am. Twin berry. And if you want to be super careful, you could also write it on the other side, just in case it wipes off on one side. Twin berry. Right? Twin berry. Isn't that cute? Okay, so twin berries, I got those. And then I'm going to need to make 2 that say pea fruit rose. I was sad that they actually ran out of the bald hip rose. I was going to order some, but they sold out before I got to the front of the line. So I'm going to do the pea fruit rose, 2 of those. Pea fruit rose. Okay, and I do prefer this kind of marker. I don't like the fine tipped very much. This is fine point enough, not the super fine point. So pea fruit rose. And pea fruit rose do have edible rose hips. I don't think they're going to be as big. If the name says anything to us, pea fruit is what I'm going to infer. The rose hips are small, is my guess. So 2 of those. I'm going to put them together. And it's a little windy, so I hope nothing blows away. And then I need 5 thimbleberries. 5 thimbleberries. So hope this is in the shot. I'm not really looking. Thimble. I love thimbleberries. They are delicious. Okay. So thimbleberries, and I need 5 of those. I'll do that pretty fast. They are amazing. If you've ever had a thimbleberry, give me a thumbs up. And if you do anything special with them, comment below. Do you make anything with them? I always have such a small enough harvest that it ends up being a snack. So that's 3 thimbleberry. I was really surprised that at the native plant sale, the first things to sell out were not things that produce food for people. The first things I noticed that sold out were ornamental. They're native, but they're ornamentals. So that was interesting. I would have thought that edible things would have been more popular. Now, there were a lot of edible things that sold out. They just weren't the first to sell out. So I've got those. Okay, and then I have red flowering currant. And those are so pretty. I grow red currants too, but the red flowering currant is really not for food. It's more for ornamental. But they're so pretty, and they were only, when I bought them, red flowering currants, where do they go here? They were only $2.25 per plant. So red flower currant. Okay. And they didn't have any edible currants there. If there had been some, I might have bought some. That's currant with a T. Red flowering currant. The flowers are just absolutely charming. Just as pretty as a columbine, which they were some of the first ones to sell out, were the columbines. I have some columbines too, and I also have seeds, so I'm not brokenhearted. And then we have salmonberry. So salmon berries, and I had 4, and I don't have enough. So I'm going to have to cut up another cup. Salmon berry. Okay, so let's cut up another cup. If you're cutting these kinds of cups out for labels, you can just follow the lines as you go along. And it looks like we get 15 labels out of them doing it that way. You can see I kind of prefer to just cut straight down and then do the angles. It works better for me. It's just a little bit easier. So I definitely want to get all of my labels done before I get my hands wet, because at that point, just the moisture from touching the soil and stuff and then putting on here makes it so that the Sharpies won't write. So I'm going to get all of those labels done. So I'm not going to belabor it with you guys, but I got them. So I'm going to do 4 salmon berries, which I paid $2.25 each. 2 mock orange plants because they smell really, really wonderful, $2.50 each. 2 blue elderberry. Now I have elderberry and I probably have blue somewhere, but I don't know the variety I have. I have a lot of it and it's very medicinal, but I wanted to have blue for sure. So I got 2 of those. They're only $2.25 each. I got 10 black cap raspberries for $4.50 each. You can see that's the one I really, really wanted. I got 4 Nootka roses for $2.50. Nootka roses are awesome. And lots of vitamin C in those rose hips. I got 4 tall Oregon grapes for $2.50 each, and that is an edible variety that you have to cook the berries to prepare like jams and jellies, which I have not done before, but I'm going to do more research and try that out. Then I've got 3 service berries for $2.25, and I got those for the birds. I got 3 black hawthorn, which do have thorns, but they have edible fruit. Very small, that I mostly got for wildlife to plant out at that property I keep alluding to. I have a 5-acre property that you can't build on or anything, so I'm going to make it into like a food forest for people and also for wildlife. And then the red osier dogwood. Now these are just, I forget what they called them. They didn't call them bare root or plugs. They're basically just the stick. They didn't even call it a cutting. But they said doesn't have roots. Make sure you get into the ground right away. So I'm gonna do that right away too. And I'm getting the red twig dogwood because I want to make arts and crafts with them. And then the last thing I have on here is the Pacific. It was the most expensive thing I got. It was the Pacific rhododendron, and that's because that is the state plant for Washington, and it was $9. I was going to get the huckleberries, a bundle of 5 for $27.50, but they sold out. They were all out of the native strawberries. They ran out of the huckleberries and a lot of other things I wanted. So I did do a little bit of substitution, but that saved me a lot of money. I ended up spending $150.50. It would have easily been over $200, but I was there 10 minutes before 10. And there was probably already 1,000 people in the building. So yeah, if you're gonna go to one of those native plant sales, I guess go an hour early and get in line, and then wait in line for 2 hours. But it was worth it because I got lots of cool plants that are gonna be really good for the native wildlife. So I'm gonna write the names down here, and I'll be right back. I got the 10 black cap raspberry labels done, but I need to do one more cup of labels because I'm not quite done, and I ran out, and I still have to do the Nootka rose, the tall Oregon grape, serviceberry, black hawthorn, the red twig dogwood, and the Pacific rhodie. Which means I'm going to have to do 2 more cups. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of satisfying making the labels. Wow! If you make one a little bit skinny, you can just do 1 point. It doesn't have to be point like an arrow on both sides. This will work just fine. Just put it on the edge of the pot and just slip it right into the side. It's going to be perfect. I tend to like to do it like this, but I usually end up with 1 sliver that's a little bit skinnier, and 1 point is just fine. So I need to do 1 more cup, and then I should be good to go. Here's another label monster. Whoa! I'm securing the ones I've made so far because it started to blow blustery wind and I was starting to lose some of my labels. So put them in there alphabetically. That makes it a little bit easier so they don't get misplaced. So now I need to do 4 Nootka rows. All right. So this is super easy. It's kind of wonky because I'm just trying to hold it so it shows up, but it's not as hard as it looks. It is bumpy because of the design of the cup, but it works. It's fine. So again, Nootka rows are native and edible to humans. So you use the rose hip for vitamin C, make teas and so forth. So it is nice if you can lay them out flat and let them dry a little bit before you stack them up so they don't smear. Gotten a little bit of ink on my hands. Not too bad, but you want them to dry. And it was snowing earlier, and it was sunny, it was snowing, it was raining, and then it was snowing, and now it's sunny again. So hopefully it stays dry for long enough so that these don't smear off. Let's see, so we did the Nootka rose. And now I need to do the tall Oregon grape. They're coming along really fast. So I got the Oregon grape ones done, and I keep tucking them back into those double cups so I don't lose them. It is pretty windy. Next I have the service berries. Where did I lose those? 3 service berries. And that reminds me to do a shout out to our people who serve. So to our military, our people in blue, police officers, teachers, all public servants. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your service. We have 3 black hawthorn, and then we'll have the red osier dogwood. So 3 black hawthorns, and I think the red osier dogwood is also called red twig dogwood. Comment below if you think I'm right or wrong. I only have 1 more to go. That's the Pacific rhododendron, and then I've got a bunch of leftovers for next time, so they're all prepped and ready to go. Those will go in my gardening toolkit. So that was super simple and easy. Cheap way to get plant tags. So you think of it this way, at the Dollar Tree for $1.25 you can get 10 plant labels, which I actually like those. They're fine, but for 15 cents you can get 15. So you can either pay 13 cents per label, or you can pay a penny per label. So what do you choose, a penny or 15 cents after taxes? I don't want my junk to blow away, so I'm going to go ahead and pack this up, and then I'm going to get out the plants and start transplanting them. So on average, I paid about $3 per plant. So getting them from, they call it conservation district. So look up your district, like your county, and then put your county name, and then add the words conservation district plant sale. And that should help you find some local plant sales. And actually, I was able to find that there's going to be another plant sale. I'm not sure it's actually by the conservation district, but there's going to be another plant sale next month. So in the next couple of months, you probably will see some plant sales going on. But now is really the time to be looking for things that are bare root. Once things start growing out and they have to put them into nursery pots, they're going to charge a lot more. So bare root, you're getting things for really, really cheap. So as you can see over here, they come
This year they gave me a garbage bag, and so it looks like a bag of just tree garbage or whatever, but that is gold right there. So I'm going to start with the red twig dogwood because I'm most concerned that it could dry out since it doesn't have any roots. See this? This is the red osseous dogwood, and it looks like actually one of them does have some roots, and I can tell that they're trying to grow, but you can see here they need to get in the ground right now. So let's do this. So here you can see the lovely soil my husband brought to me the end of last summer, the beginning of last fall, and it looks beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and use that to plant up these dogwoods. Look at that beautiful earthworm. Isn't she gorgeous? I'm going to put her in the pot that's down below the camera. I don't want to accidentally cut it. So the lady said, go ahead and just stick it right in the ground. This is bamboo though, okay? But I see some roots forming. So I definitely don't want to lose the roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the bamboo inside and make a hole for it. Okay. And then I'm going to put the red twig, I forget what they're calling them, but it's basically just a cutting into it. Okay. I'm going to remove the label. I can leave the label on one of them, but for now I'll remove it, and I'll put this one in there. This one already has some roots. Pretty. Okay. So I'm going to put it down in here and then cover it in. And I will water this in because I don't want those roots to dry out. So this pot is cracked, and I'm sure people will think I should throw it out, but I'm only trying to root the plants in here, the red twig dogwoods. So I'm going to go ahead and use it one more time. Well, actually, this is going to be the first time I use it because my husband salvaged these pots. But I'm going to go ahead and use it for the red twig dogwood. And then when I pot it up, I'll go ahead and dispose of this probably. Or I might cut it down lower, like below the line, and use it for another plant. And just cut off the part that's broken. Once I fill the pot with soil, I give it a good shake to compact the soil just a little bit. Shake it down. And then I'm going to grab the bamboo, or a bamboo. It doesn't look like the other plants, the other 3 dogwoods had roots, but they have like little tiny fibers forming, so I don't want to knock those off, so I'm making the hole. And then I'll just slide the other plant in place. Okay, hold on. Make sure you plant it right side up. So this is the bottom. The little nubs are going to point up. So that's pointing up. And it's thicker on this side and thinner on the top. So you do want to make sure you're planting it the correct way, otherwise it will not work. And then shake it again. I'm going to really compress it around. And then I will water it in. It'd probably be even better if I use a deeper pot, but I don't want to use that much soil. So I think this is going to work just fine, especially since I saw on the other plant at the point where it was forming roots, it would definitely be below the soil line. So I'll give this a good shake. This is the 3rd red twig dogwood. And again, I'm using the bamboo to make the hole, which if it doesn't have roots, you could just stick it in. But if there were any roots growing on the outside, I just don't want to knock anything off just in case, to be on the safe side. And I can add some more soil to this one. I will add more soil. Let's do that. Whoa. There we go. Okay. As you see, some mycorrhiza fungi. Such a fun guy. He likes to go to parties. Party in the garden. There we go. That's good. Let's do the last one. So the last red twig dogwood is getting spoiled because that's a nice big pot there. And man, it's cold. And I haven't been digging a lot, you know, for the last several months. It's amazing how you kind of lose it. You use it or you lose it, you know what I mean? You know, a lot of people show their gardens on YouTube and they have paid landscapers to do all this work for them. I do this by myself. Okay, so I'll shake it. Make a hole. Pop her in. Push it down. Probably add some more in. Yep. That. I like my other shovel that's pointed better, but somebody must be using it for something. Hope it's not for cleaning up dog poop. Like my good shovel. Why? How could you treat my shovel that way? That's my garden shovel. Okay. When I water it, all this will sink down too. We also need to add the plant labels. So here they are temporarily off in the back perimeter of the lot, but I need to water them in and add their labels. So I've got these super cheap labels. Just sneak them in the side. They work so well. And it's almost like this the little lip here. It's like a little grip. It's also nice when you're holding it and writing down the labels, but also when you're pushing it down. That one's not going quite as easy. This one's got a little bit of a pucker to it. There we go. Don't want to go anywhere. And then that one already has a label, but I'm still going to put a label on it because that label is pretty brittle. Even when I touched it, some parts actually like broke off. So I just want to make sure I don't lose track of what I have. So those are ready. Let's go ahead and water them in. I just used almost swamp water. I have a couple containers that got filled with water, so it's super nutrient rich. Go ahead and get that going, and then we'll do this one here. This one's smaller. I kind of did it backwards. This one here, this in the smaller pot, actually is the one that had roots. I should have given that one the best container, but you know, I'm imperfect. Imperfect people do imperfect things. Grab some more swamp water. Calling it swamp water because it's kind of swampy. Nutrient rich, and when I get inside, I'm going to wash my hands really thoroughly. It's not just dirty, it's stagnant, so I don't want that on my skin. Okay, that's good. And those are good to go. Those are the ones I was most worried about because the other plants are bare root dormant, and these don't have any roots except for that one over on the left. So now they are watered in, and I could cut these down. I think I will. I might even cut them down and stick the twig that I cut off next to it, and then I'll get basically 8 plants for the price of 4 because they are taller than they need to be. They're longer than they need to be. So I can basically cut those in half and get 4 more plants, and I'm going to just stick them down in the same containers, but not today. That's enough for that one. Let's check out some other plants. Thought I'd show you because the next plant I'm going to plant is Oregon grape, and it's a particular kind. This one here, I got, I think it's One Green World. Is that their symbol? This is Oregon Grape. The one I just bought, they called it Tall Oregon Grape. So this, I just got for like native plants. But I think this variety was supposed to also be edible. So I'm going to do my research, but I'm pretty sure I got this from One Green World, and I will double check. But you really need to know your stuff. Don't just trust somebody you see on YouTube. You need to thoroughly do your research and check lots of sources. And use plant identification guides and apps and all that good stuff. But also don't trust those wholeheartedly, because I've used a lot of plant apps and I'll know a certain variety of something and it will tell me something kind of similar but totally different. So be careful with those as well. Be fully secure in what you're doing. And if you're not fully secure, stick to apples, plums, cherries, that kind of stuff. Pears, things that you really recognize. And after you really feel secure, then kind of branch out and try things that are a little bit different. It's okay to start planting things, but don't start eating and using them until you know what to do with them. Okay, do you see that sky? It's dark and ominous and beautiful in its own savage way. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I'm going to get those plants damp, the ones that are in that garbage bag, because I don't want them to die. So even though it's not supposed to be dark for like an hour and a half, I'm feeling the sprinkles. And to be honest, I'm already tired because I got up and I went shopping with my daughter. I went to the library. I went and got the plants, stood in line for an hour and a half, then waited for half an hour for them to be ready, walked around the fairgrounds, planted 4 of the dogwoods, and I'm tired, especially after working a full week, 40-hour week, and I haven't been sleeping very well. So this is where I'm not gonna show you my face. My hair is crazy. I've got mud all over my face, but I want to tell you guys, God bless you. Thank you for watching my channels. If you've watched to this point in the video, I really appreciate it. You must be here for a reason. I want to say God bless you, live long and prosper. And remember, I always want to say be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.